I thought I was just being a good daughter, until I found out my mom was getting paid behind my back for every hour I spent taking care of Grandma. When my mom asked if I could help out a little with Grandma, I didn't hesitate. I was 22, taking online college classes, working part-time at a bookstore, living at home to save money. Helping with Grandma felt right. She raised me while my parents worked. She used to sneak me cookies when Mom said no. She called me her little star. So when her health started declining, when she couldn't walk on her own, couldn't remember dates, couldn't always find the bathroom in time, I said yes. No questions asked. At first, it was just weekends, then afternoons, then every day. Mom said, "You're the only one she listens to. You've always been the calm one. Your brothers wouldn't know what to do." So I stepped in. I changed Grandma's sheets when they were wet. I cleaned the same plate 5 times because she kept forgetting she'd already eaten. I held her hand when she cried and didn't know why. And when she got aggressive, when she called me a thief, a stranger, or her sister who died in 1986, I didn't take it personally. I just helped her to bed and sat there while she stared at the ceiling, whispering names I didn't recognize. Meanwhile, my mom, she'd peek in and smile. "You're doing so well with her. I don't know what we'd do without you." That phrase became her favorite. At first, it made me feel proud. Then it started to feel heavy, like a trap wrapped in a compliment. Because while I was doing everything, my mom was at the nail salon, meeting friends for brunch, rewatching Grey's Anatomy on the couch. I'd come out of Grandma's room exhausted, smelling like antiseptic and sour milk, and she'd look up and say, "Oh, she finally fell asleep. Great. Want to start dinner?" And I did, because I thought that's what good daughters do. But there were cracks, little moments I didn't know how to explain. Like when I missed an online quiz and my professor called it unexcused. Or when I asked my mom if I could take a weekend off and she said, "You want to go out and party while I deal with all this alone." That all this she referred to was me doing her job, but I still didn't see it clearly. Not yet. At that point, I still thought I was helping us. I didn't know I was being used. I didn't know she was getting paid every single month for my labor, but I was about to find out. And when I did, I'd never look at her the same way again. I stopped counting the days. Every morning blurred into the next. Wake up, help Grandma to the bathroom, clean the floor, change her, feed her, remind her where she was. Again, and again, and again. Some mornings she looked at me like I was a ghost. Other times she cried and asked me when her mother was coming home. She died in 1967. I got used to the smell of bleach. I learned how to lift her without hurting her back. I memorized her pill schedule better than I knew my own class times. Meanwhile, my friends slowly disappeared. They stopped inviting me out, stopped texting, and when I reached out to one of them just to vent, she said, "I don't get why it's all on you. Doesn't your mom live there too?" I didn't know how to answer, because technically, yes, she was there, physically, but emotionally? She had checked out the moment she realized I was capable. She'd come in with that sweet, patronizing voice. "Ah, she's in a good mood today. You must be doing something right." Or worse, "Well, maybe she's aggressive because you're too soft with her." It didn't matter what I did. If Grandma screamed, it was my fault. If she was calm, it was my responsibility to keep her that way. No thank you. No apology. Just expectation. One afternoon, I asked my mom if we could look into getting a part-time nurse. Just for a few hours. So I could catch up on school. Sleep. Breathe. She laughed. "Do you know how expensive that is? And for what? So you can go hang out at Starbucks?" That stung more than I expected. I wasn't asking for luxury. I just wanted to feel like a person again. But she wasn't hearing me, because she didn't want to. That night, I sat on the bathroom floor after cleaning up one of Grandma's accidents. I looked at myself in the mirror and didn't recognize my own eyes. Tired, flat, gone. I whispered, "Is this just my life now?" I didn't expect an answer, but I got one. Not from the mirror, from a piece of paper that changed everything. It was left on the kitchen counter the next morning. A letter from some government agency. Opened, crumpled, like she'd read it in a hurry and tossed it aside. I almost didn't look, but something made me pick it up. And there it was. My mother's name. An official notification, acknowledging her as the primary caregiver for my grandmother. And below that, the monthly stipend she was receiving. A four-digit number every single month. And I hadn't seen a single cent. I couldn't move. I stood in the kitchen holding that letter like it was radioactive. My hands were shaking, but my mind was quiet. Too quiet. That kind of stillness that only comes when something inside you shatters clean. It wasn't just a number. It was the boldness of it. She didn't even bother to hide the proof. Because she didn't think I'd question her. Because she thought I was too tired or too obedient to notice. And she wasn't wrong. Not until now. I took a picture of the letter, zoomed in, read every word. Primary caregiver stipend awarded to her full name. Support for at-home care of dependent elder. Monthly amount, $1,450.0 USD. That was more than I made working part-time. More than enough to hire help. More than enough to, at the very least, give me a break. But I got nothing. No offer. No mention. Not even gas money. She let me believe this was a sacrifice. A family effort. A noble thing. But it wasn't noble. It was profitable. For her. I didn't confront her right away. I couldn't. Not yet. Because I knew if I came at her without being 100% ready, she'd flip it on me. She always did. So I waited. I started digging. Emails. Bank statements left on the printer tray. Notifications on her phone that popped up when she left it charging in the living room. Everything confirmed it. She'd been receiving that stipend for over a year. Thousands of dollars. And in that time, she bought new living room furniture, monthly nail appointments, a spa weekend with her sisters, and I was washing my grandmother's bedsheets at a.m. with bleach burns on my fingers, thinking I was just helping out. The rage wasn't loud. It didn't explode. It was quiet, tight, surgical. It wrapped around my chest like a rope and whispered, "Don't scream. Document." So I started saving things. Photos, letters, screenshots. I created a folder in my Google Drive titled Groceries. Inside it, every single receipt of her betrayal. I didn't know what I'd do with it yet, but I knew one thing. The next time she smiled and said, "We're so lucky to have you," I'd smile back and think, not for long. After that day, nothing between us was real anymore. But she didn't know that. I still brought my mom her coffee in the morning, still helped Grandma eat, bathe, sleep, still smiled when she said, "You're an angel, honestly. None of your brothers would last a day doing what you do." I nodded, played my part, but inside, I wasn't her daughter anymore. I was her mirror, and soon, she'd have to look. I started tracking my time. Every hour spent with Grandma, every night interrupted, every time I skipped meals to clean up a mess that wasn't mine. I kept it all in a spreadsheet. Then I started asking questions, soft ones. "Hey, how's the money situation? I could really use some help with school stuff." She didn't even blink. "You know things are tight right now. We're barely getting by." I smiled. Of course. Just thought I'd ask. The next day she came home with a new pair of boots and a takeout order for two just for herself. That was the moment I knew. This wasn't ignorance. This was a choice. She chose to use me, and I had allowed it. But not anymore. I started setting boundaries. Nothing obvious, just little things to measure her reaction. I told her I needed Sunday mornings off for a study group. She rolled her eyes. "Just make sure she's settled before you go." I went anyway. I came home to a mess Grandma hadn't eaten, hadn't been changed, and my mom said, "You see, this is why I can't do this alone." I almost laughed. Alone? She hadn't touched a sponge in months. But I didn't say it. Not yet. Instead, I started researching. Elder care services in our area, government fraud reporting portals, legal aid programs for young caregivers. It was all there. Every resource I needed to walk away and take my dignity with me. The final straw? I overheard her on the phone with my aunt. "Yeah, she's still doing everything. Bless her heart. I don't know how I'd manage without her. She said, "We're making it work." And yes, the stipend helps. Thank God for that. I stood outside the door and felt something snap clean in my chest. Not pain, not grief, just clarity. She wasn't going to change. She didn't feel guilty. She was proud of it. That was the moment I decided she wouldn't get to keep my silence and my labor. She could pick one, and soon, she'd have neither. The day I left, I didn't pack a suitcase. I packed evidence. I printed my spreadsheet. Attach copies of her government stipend letter, screenshots of her texts, a summary of the hours I'd worked unpaid, unacknowledged, and invisible. I put everything in a folder labeled for when she asks why. Then I scheduled two things: a meeting with an elder care coordinator, someone who could help transition Grandma to a facility with proper care, an anonymous fraud report submission, complete with documentation. I didn't tell her goodbye. I just made sure Grandma was clean, fed, and sleeping. I kissed her forehead. "You were never the burden," I whispered. Then I walked out. I left the folder on the kitchen table, right under her half-finished green smoothie and her receipt for a $200 massage. She texted me an hour later. "Where are you? Grandma's asking for you." Then, "What is all this paperwork?" Then, "You're overreacting. We could have talked." No, we couldn't, because I did try, in 100 small ways. With every quiet breakdown in the bathroom, every exhausted stare across the table, every tiny boundary she bulldozed with a smile. And she never listened. Now, she'd be forced to. The elder care coordinator called her 2 days later, explained the situation, told her she was no longer listed as primary caregiver, and that home visits would begin within the week. She lost a stipend, lost the control, lost the convenience of having a daughter she could dress up as a selfless little angel while she cashed the checks. I didn't need revenge. I just needed out. And now, I sleep in a small studio apartment, 4 train stops away. It smells like cheap candles and microwave noodles. And it's mine. No guilt, no bleach, no one pretending my exhaustion is love. She still sends messages sometimes. "You abandoned us. I raised you better than this." But I don't answer, because what she calls abandonment, I call freedom. Sometimes I still hear her voice in my head, not the cruel one, the sweet one, the manipulative one. The version of her that said, "You're the only one I can count on. I don't know what I'd do without you." Back then, I thought that was love. Now I know it was leverage. It's been 6 months since I left. Grandma's in a care home now. It's not perfect, no places, but she's clean, fed, supervised. There are nurses, real ones, with shifts and salaries and certifications. And me? I go to class again. I sleep through the night. I laugh without feeling guilty. Sometimes I sit in the quiet of my apartment and realize this is the first time in years that no one is depending on me to fall apart so they don't have to. And I don't miss it. Not the house. Not the heaviness. Not the performative concern my mom paraded around when people asked about Grandma. People still ask what happened. Family members who never knew the full story send me passive-aggressive texts like, "Couldn't you have just helped a little longer? You know how hard this is on your mom." I don't reply, because if they didn't see me breaking back then, they don't deserve my peace now. I'm rebuilding, slowly, quietly, fully, and I'm not waiting for an apology anymore. I don't need my mom to admit what she did. I don't need anyone to clap for me. I just need to keep going. This chapter? It's closed. And I finally understand. Being related to someone doesn't mean you owe them your silence. The end. I'm not who I was when this began. And I'll never be her again.